Hello, so I'm not sure if I'm crazy or what I'm about to embark on, if it's gonna actually happen or not. I'm a little scared, to be honest with you. I have all of my albums except my Project Life out here. These are empty albums that I haven't filled yet. These are all of my albums from December of 2014 all the way up, and for some reason this one doubles on this one. I'm not sure why. Goes all the way up till October of 2017 to present. I also do have some layouts that aren't in any album yet. Some that are right there, some that are right there in those two spots. And then these, I have two albums. This is an unfinished album of our trip to Newfoundland in 2004. I wasn't actually scrapbooking in 2004. So I went back and was trying to scrapbook that trip, but I stopped because I hated it. Not the trip, but the scrapbooking of the trip. And then this is the first scrapbooking album that I ever made, and it was our dating years album. And then this is where I started scrapbooking, was in 2009. And so this is March of 2009 till September of 2009. And then all of these albums are all of the layouts up until whenever this one starts, so December of 14. So this is all the way up until November of 14. So all of these. So yeah, I'm pausing because I don't know if I'm going to do this or not. I'm thinking about taking all of these layouts out of the albums and sorting them into, oh my gosh, I shouldn't do this. Oh, but I have to. Okay. I'm thinking about sorting them into categories and making new albums. We'll see if this actually happens. So I'm going to start this with a maintenance check with some of these albums. This is an album that, even if I decide to shuffle my albums around, this is one that I will most likely be keeping intact, because it's sort of, I don't know, I wasn't really scrapbooking I wasn't really pumping out many layouts at this point because I was still learning the process. And so I think it's kind of nice to have this mishmash. These are all the layouts of my kids when they were young. It's sort of like this was our family life back then. It was very, very, very child dominant. And so I feel like I just want to leave this. This is a post-bound album. I don't scrapbook in post-bound albums anymore. And I kind of just feel like I like this just the way it is. So this is going to be a maintenance check. I'm just making sure that everything has stuck over time and that I have all of the dates on everything, which I know I don't because I went through already and found the dates of these photos and wrote it on post-it notes. So I just have to go through and add the dates with I don't know exactly where I'm going to add them, but I think on this one, for example, I'm thinking maybe right here, March of 2009. This was using a Die Cuts with a View stack, and I cut this title over here with my slice and put stickles on it to make it look like snow has gathered on it. So this is March of 2009 according to that little sticker. So 2009, I'm just going to put dash dash because the date doesn't really matter. Dash dash March. That didn't really stick very well, did it? I might need stays on for that. It's kind of pooling up on me. Because it's on a photo, I might need stays on. There we go. That's more like it. There we go. Everything seems to be sticking on this one though, which is good. There we go. February 2009. I feel like I'd like to put the date on this heart right here.
All of the supplies for the pages that you'll be seeing in this album all came from Michaels. They are mostly Die Cuts with a View or K and Company, and a couple of Making
February,
Memories as well.
There we go.
So this chipboard heart that I'm stamping on was actually it's a piece of pattern paper from one of the collections I was using, and I hand cut it with an X-Acto knife around the chipboard heart that it's on. And I didn't do anything else with it. Those letters that spell out Tea Party, I cut with my slice, which was a handheld die cutting machine. It wasn't the greatest in the world, but it was less expensive. And I cut it out of glitter paper. Or no, maybe I cut it out of regular paper and then I glittered it with stickles. And then I just outlined it around the outsides of where it was stuck to my page with a white gel pen. And that's how I got that white edge around the edge of Tea Party. The flourishes that are on this layout were all chipboard flourishes, like unfinished white chipboard that came in the same package as the heart. And then those letters that say Valentine, I'm pretty sure those were from K and Company, and then I just tied a ribbon around one of them.
Then we have a missing 2-page spread here, which is in a class place. So this one must have a date already, March, April 2009. This one has the date right there. This one needs April 2009.
This Rena page, which is what she used to say instead of ballerina, she would call it arena, is the background paper is, I think, a K and Company
They're both
paper.
coming out. That's okay. Whoa. What's this?
I found a note.
April 24th to 27th. I have some notes here. It says all the supplies that I used. I wasn't filming myself then. I don't know why I was keeping track of the supplies. Maybe for scrapbook.com. Who knows? So this is April 2009.
Interesting.
April.
So this page was made with, although that background was from K and Company, all the layered papers and strips are from Making Memories, from a Making Memories collection. And that wonky looking flower was die cut using my slice, and I doodled it like crazy, and I was so proud of that homemade embellishment. The owl and the bird also were cut with my slice. Almost all of the embellishments in these pages were homemade. It's really fun to look back on them.
Okay. This one has a date. That one has a date. That one has a date. This one is from May 2009.
This one was another really bright stack of papers.
I feel like a date might look nice right there. This was a K and Company paper as well. Or no, Die Cuts with a View, I think this was. Look at all these old layouts. Papa's 60th birthday.
Okay, so I'm turning off my original soundtrack on this because there's too many gaps and it's hard for me to go in and fill in the gaps with other things. And as I look through it the second time, I have different ideas of things that I want to talk to you guys about. As I'm doing this, I'm struck by a couple of things. One is, look at how different my designs were then compared to how they are now. Obviously, lots of double page layouts, lots of structure to my layouts, and lots of multi-photos. And this one I'm thinking about putting some journaling on. I'm waiting to hear back from Scott. I had texted him about what are the exact dates of his dad's birthday and also Jen's birthday so that I could put a better date on these two pages. This is a page that I made at a crop. So I had gotten this page ready, like meaning I printed up the photo templates. That's how I used to print my photos then, is I would come up with these templates that one of the magazines, I think Scrapbook, etc., used to publish these templates that you could drag your pictures into and then print up these photo templates. So I have the right date. It's May of whatever the year was. I think it's 2009 at this point that I'm scrapbooking. Those letters were, I think those were also cut with my slice. I had a camping themed slice card. A slice, if you don't know what a slice is, you should totally Google it and look it up. It's like this little handheld device that you'd hold over a piece of paper, like on a flat surface, and you'd hold it still and it would cut just like a Cricut or a Cameo does, but it's handheld. It was quite remarkable, actually, but it didn't cut quite as precisely as a Cricut did, and later a Cameo. And so yeah, you were limited, and there weren't as many designs on the card. Instead of a cartridge, it was like a little memory card that you would put in. Anyhow, I had a camping cartridge, and that's what I cut up the words for Papa's and birthday, and then 60th was some other font that I had, and I just covered 60th in stickles. And I think that Papa's was cut out of brown paper, and then I just mounted it on little chunks of orange paper or yellow paper, and I just cut around it. I did this at a crop. I had the photos and all the cutting done, and I just brought all the pieces with me to figure out how to assemble it. And so I had all the little letters that said Papa's 60th birthday, and then I had the photo templates, and then I cut it all up and put it together at the crop. The crop was very unfriendly. It was at a local scrapbooking store that has since gone out of business, and I went as I was clearly the only person there who didn't know anybody else, and nobody would talk to me. I tried to make conversation with the person on my right, and it didn't go over very well. And then I tried to make conversation with the person on my left, and it didn't go over very well. And then I eventually just said, okay, well, I'm just going to get a page done. If I can't socialize and make scrappy friends, then at least I'm going to get this page done. So anyhow, I'm on to this one. I must have received that text from Scott with Jen's birthday date as well, which I think is also in May. So I'm putting that date right here, and I'm just using my roller date stamp because it's nice and neutral and it's not going to look weird having it added. Some of these pages have journaling done in different colored markers. I used to do that quite a lot back then, or journaling that was done on the computer. And so adding a date is not all that easy in that case because I might not be able to find the exact marker. So using a roller date stamp is an easy workaround for that. And roller date stamps look nice almost anywhere. Like they sometimes actually look better in some random place than they do in a spot that you would expect them to be. So yeah, look at all the structure on these pages. I'm really intrigued by this. Like, I don't think I could make these pages again if I tried, because I don't think that way. Like, how did I come up with that idea to put... I remember actually conceptualizing this one and wanting it to look very high-tech. I was inspired by the high-tech font that you see there was on a slice card that I had. And it had all kinds of like LOL and that robot that's kind of cut off up in the top right hand corner there. And I'm just really impressed here. These photos are taken in our old house, of which we don't have a whole lot of pictures. It's our other cats too that have since passed away. So I'm kind of enjoying that layout quite a lot. I remember kind of wanting it to look like, you know, like wires in series. So I wanted that outlining around that block of photos on the other page to look kind of like electronics. So in this one, I actually hand cut that black cat head out of the orangey colored patterned paper and then backed it with the black cardstock. And the word parcel was cut from my slice. And this one used some Making Memories supplies, including Making Memories used to make these little journaling pads of paper. And that's what that scrolly brown and beige thing is there. And that cat, I'm pretty sure that was a cut apart from a cat themed deck of, I think it might have been even an 8x8 paper pack. And then I made those little yarn balls from punched paper, like I punched 2 circles and then just wound a bunch of floss around it to make it look like a ball. And then these letters here I cut with my die cutting machine with my Cuttle bug at that point. It's a Sizzix die, and then this was cut with my slice. And then I added all these cute little details. I'm too far away. I'm not zoomed in enough for you to see it, but I added all these details to my letters back then that had like little dots and stuff to make them look really doodly. And the dots were usually out of stickles. Now this layout, wow, how bright is this? I had a We Are Memory Keepers really bright paper pack, and my mother-in-law has a really bright personality, so I thought that this page would be great for her. And most of the designs on this page, like all of those flourishes and flowers and birds, were already on the page, but what I did was I added stickles to them. So everything that you see that sparkles is stuff that I added. So I just spent a night just doodling with my stickles in all different colors, and then I just let it dry overnight and finished off the page the next day. And I'm using torn paper for one of the first times. This goes on to become one of the things that I do quite a lot. I didn't realize at that point that in order to get straighter lines and to have less of a torn look, you have to use a ruler. But anyhow, this is a nice look too. There's that roller date stamp in a random place just to kind of, I couldn't really find another place for it, so I just put it there. This is one of my all-time favorite layouts. I love this one. This is called The Best of Both Worlds, which was a Hannah Montana song, so that was kind of prime in my mind in 2008. And this is a double page spread about Scott. And my idea, I remember this was another page that I used to mull over my pages for days and days and days before I'd even get started on them. So I had this idea where I wanted one half of this layout, the side on the left, to be all kind of analytical and straight and logical. My journaling is, oh, I just found that strip that fell off of a page. My journaling is all bulleted and it's typewritten from the computer, and everything is lined up and straight and orderly. And then the other side represents Scott's wacky side. I just have to go back and figure out where it actually came from this one. It went on the top of this. I saw it as I was narrating before. Not there. It goes on the top of the Sweet Sisters layout. I can't figure out where it goes, so I'm going to put it here, but it doesn't really go there. That's not where I meant for it to be. This page, I didn't get a chance to talk about this one. I'm glad I'm pausing on it, actually. I thought for a second there, I'm pretty sure it doesn't go there. So this page, this film one, was another one that I mulled over for a long time, trying to figure out how to make my own film strip. And I made it out of cardstock, out of black cardstock. And then I actually went in with a white marker and blanked out all of the little white dots to make it look like see all those little white rounded squares that make it look like a film strip underneath the word film. I had to white out all of those with a white marker. So that was quite there. That's where it actually belongs, but I'm not going to put it there because I forgot. I could have actually rewound the tape and put it and figured out where it actually went, but it's okay. It doesn't really matter. The reason I thought it went here is because there's this little gap above where it says, "When I grow up, I want to be a rock star ballerina." That's something that that my daughter actually said, and so I wanted to document that. And this seems to fill that space that didn't seem to be a reason for there to be space there, so I just put that there. It actually works better on the top of the Sweet Sisters layout because it, I don't know, it just kind of fills up. Again, there's more space there than there should be as well. And I don't know what I was doing with that journaling around those circles in white. That was kind of weird. So here we are back to this best of both worlds. And then the other half is more wonky, creative, flowy. My journaling was a different text. If you kind of go back and pause it, you can see all of the different ways in which the right side is different from the left side, just to contrast his two different aspects of his personality. This was my first page that this one won a prize of some sort. I can't remember what it was all about. The background papers from that same We Are Memory Keepers stack that I talked about in the Nena layout. And then the rest of it is this Berry Sweet, I think it was called, collection from either Die Cuts with a View or K & Company. I get those two mixed up because I had lots of stacks from both of them. And all of those layered felt-like embellishments were all from the same collection as the patterned papers. But that white... that lime green background with the white distressing all around it, that was definitely from the We Are Memory Keepers stack that I had. So I dated that one and put it back in. So what I'm trying to accomplish here is kind of threefold. I am dating any pages that don't have dates on them. That's my first. And then I'm fixing anything that has come apart. That's my second goal. And then my third goal, which is the one that I'm not so committed to, is am I going to change the way that I organize my pages and make almost like a Stacey Julian version of like her approach to Library of Memories, which is, I forget what those categories are. It's like all about us, people we love, places we go, and things we do. I think those are the categories. Anyhow, I've been listening to the deep dive courses from Noelle. I bought them when they were on their last, like your last opportunity to buy them. And I started by listening to the one with Shamel and Noelle talking about story-centered albums. And I thought, as I was listening to it, I was really just listening to it for entertainment. I wasn't planning to actually change the way that I store my albums because I'm not a very album-y person. Like I just kind of think of albums as vessels that hold my pages. I love scrapbooking. I don't really concern myself too much in with my pages after they're already made. But after listening to that deep dive course, which unfortunately I can't even give you a link to it because it's not available anymore, but it's just Noelle and Shamel talking about their albums. And Shamel does have some other courses that you can purchase about the way that she does albums. So if you want to hear more about that, you can just check that out. But basically, they're talking about, in this deep dive course, they're talking about how they mostly just scrapbook the way I do, like just kind of putting things in albums in the order in which either chronological according to the photos or chronological according to how they scrap them. And I'm an immediate scrapper, so my albums end up accidentally being chronological because of that. So they talk about how they take some of their layouts out of those albums and make what they call upgraded albums, which is like story specific albums that tell a certain story. So Noelle has some albums that document her daughter's dance career, and Shamel has an album that's all about her love of Alice in Wonderland, and she has another one that's all about her backpacking trip. And each of those albums tells a specific story that they just kind of chip away at as they go through time. Instead of, look at that weird journaling. Isn't that like the weirdest? I don't know. I was trying to be creative. anyhow, the idea behind these upgraded albums is not that you sit down and say, I want to make an album that's all about my love of Alice in Wonderland. And then you sit down and your next 12 layouts are all about that. It's not that at all. It's about, like, every once in a while when you feel like making a page about that, it just happens to go into this specific album so that all of those pages are together. And then every once in a while, you just kind of check in with the album and see how it's going and see if there are any gaps in the story that you're trying to tell or the pictures that you want to use and that sort of thing, and fill it out as you go. As opposed to my Newfoundland album that you saw at the beginning that I abandoned. I didn't even flip through it in this video, but I think I've flipped through it before, and I can show you guys that another time if you want. In that Newfoundland album, I sat down and I was like, okay, I'm going to scrapbook my whole trip to Newfoundland, and that's what I'm going to do until it's done, and I'm not going to do anything else until it's done. And I hated that. I only got like maybe 5 pages done, and then I quickly hated everything about that project, and I never wanted to touch it again. And I kept it in progress for a really long time, and then finally I just let go of it and said, no, I'm just going to get rid of all of these supplies and just forget about it and accept the fact that I have 5 pages done in this album, and that's all that I have done, and that's all that there ever will be. I find those sorts of story-centered albums are way too much pressure for me, and it's almost like they cramp my style. Like, I don't want to commit to having to do that much of the same thing all at once. So I really, really loved this idea. Oh, here's my album of my early relationship with Scott. This is like how we met and everything in our year of dating that led up to us getting married. Well, I think we were dating for 2 years before we got married. We were dating for 1 year, and then we moved in together, and then we got engaged 6 months later, and then married 6 months later after that. We were quick. So I'm just looking at this album and making sure that it doesn't need any maintenance, and it doesn't. Because I think I already did the maintenance on this one not too long ago. I just forgot. And so it has all of its dates, and there are stories and stuff. It's a fun album. It's really, really not my style. Even when I was doing it, it wasn't really my style because it was given to me. It was a kit that was given to me by my mother-in-law. So it was a really great opportunity. I think of it almost as like a playground for me to practice different skills. And you definitely saw me as I was like, you could see me getting into like trends, right? Like I have a bunch of stamping, and all the stamping happens at once, and then there's no more stamping after that. And I practiced distressing, and I practiced outlining, and all of those sorts of things I kind of used in that playground. Oh, here's that album. So this is that Newfoundland album that I tried to make as a specific album, and it has lots of K & Company and cardstock from Michaels. My idea was that I kind of pointed out all the places we went, and then there would be at least 1 page for each day. So this is day 1, and I made all those days up, like I made those badges that say day 1, day 2, day 3. I actually didn't scrapbook day 2 because I was sick that day. So I'm going to go over to my Project Life stash. I thought about shifting over all the pages and just skipping over day 2, but what I decided to do was to go to my Project Life supplies. I'm going to grab a 4x6 card, and then I'm looking for ones that have those same colors in it. So like some greens and yellows or oranges, or it's kind of a weird color scheme. It's not very current. And most of my Project Life cards don't have that color scheme. So that's why it's taking me a little bit of time. But I'm going to do some journaling that basically says we actually didn't do anything on day 2 because I was sick. I was coming down with a cold and worried about it all through day 1. Day 1 was just the day that we arrived in Newfoundland. And this album has lots of cutouts from the travel brochures and that sort of thing. So I grabbed this card. It's actually one of the title cards for something, but it had some similar colors of blue and a golden color in there too. So I'm going to cover up this. It says produced by. So I want to cover that up with a label of some sort and then do some journaling. This album has lots of photos from our digital camera that we had. At the time, it was a new camera, and also lots and lots of cutouts from the travel brochures. So that little picture of a fox and then the information about the fox is from a travel brochure. I'm looking for something green here just to pick up on the green and the page beside it. I got rid of all of those badges. I cut them all out and labeled them all and held on to them for a really long time until I finally gave up on this album, and then I got rid of them because they were kind of making me feel guilty and taking up a lot of space in my room that I knew I was never going to come back to this album, and I'm okay with it. I captured some of it, and it's also from like 3 years before I even started scrapbooking. So it's okay that this trip isn't documented. Sorry I'm gone for so long. There, I finally found a green label sticker. It's just tiny, but it does cover up that word. So I think I'm going to put day 2 on there. Yeah. So I'm just going to write day 2. I don't have the matching badge anymore that I had pre-made for this project. Yeah, a part of me wishes I had just slipped in day 2 since I had made it. I could have easily put it on here. But I'm basically just writing down that I was sick that day, and we decided that instead of pushing me to, because I was really, really sick, instead of pushing me to do some things that day, we just took it as a rest day, which we both appreciated. We were both working really, really, really long hours at that point, and Scott needed the break even though he wasn't sick, and I needed the break and was sick. So we just took a day and said, okay, we're chalking this one up to a loss, and we'll rest, and hopefully I'll enjoy myself more the rest of the trip instead of pushing myself through day 2, and then I might have been even more sick on day 3 and 4 and 5. It ended up working. It was a good investment because by the time day 3 rolled around, I was feeling quite a bit better. So I'm just writing that down. And I'm just going to tuck this card into the album. And I think I should speed this video up because otherwise this is going to be fairly long. So I'm just going to tuck this into the album, into the page. And yes, I did speed it up because it's going to be very, very long if I don't. So you get to have a quick look at some of these pages that I did. And yeah, those are from Making Memories, and I added the stickles. I thought about, see, there's a gap again in the album, and I couldn't remember why there was that gap, like whether that hike day was day 5 or 6 or what. So I ended up just leaving the gap, and it's fine. And then one of my daughters did some scrapbooking there. Look at how bad the albums are for collecting dust and hair. Oh my goodness. So here is my first album that I'm thinking I might start taking pages out of. And so this is the one that runs from September of 2009 to March of 2010. And this is, again, after I finished listening, I actually didn't finish listening to the Chamel and Noel deep dive course. And I also had the one that she did with Stacey Julian where she talks about the Library of Memories. And so I started listening to that, and I definitely can't use the Library of Memories as a way of storing my photos. It's just too much of an investment. But I started to think maybe I should store my layouts that way. Maybe I'll finally look at my albums if I do that. So as I flip through this one, I'm going to be a little bit more thoughtful about whether or not I want to take out some of the pages. And so here I have a bunch of pages. This one doesn't have a date, so I'm going to have to put a date on it. And this one has a real arty look to it. Like I wanted this one to look like an art journal. And so I put the crown on Tanya, and I had that cutout from the Baja Rosa label. I brought it home with me. And I have all of these collaged cutout photos, old school cutout photos. Like that picture of me in the center with my Canada t-shirt is actually a fussy cut photo of myself. And I think that it kind of captures that fun, crazy feeling of a bachelorette party. This was a very, very tame bachelorette party. We just basically hung out at Jen's apartment, and we had shooters and did our nails and stuff. Now, this page is one that I would like to change. So this is, I learned an important lesson with this one. I was playing around with pattern, and I think this collection, it was from Basic Gray, and it was called Junebug. And I learned a lesson here about combining patterns without having something in between them. I wish I had put black mats between this orange paper and all of those fussy background patterns, and also a black mat around the photo. I can't pull this apart. I tried to pull it apart and I was going to add some black matting, but it doesn't come apart very easily and I don't want to ruin it or spend a whole lot of time on this. So I've decided to just use a broad tip marker to add a little bit more contrast. So this was definitely a design lesson for me. And I remember posting on scrapbook.com and saying, what's wrong with this page? I can't, it looks bad. And somebody said, you need some black mats in between your stuff. And I was like, yes, you're right, I do. So that was a lesson that I learned on this page, which looks really not very good. Those background patterns are 6x6 papers from the 6x6 paper pad from Basic Gray that I just put together to make a really busy background. Now this page definitely doesn't go in here. So whether I use Noelle's idea of an upgraded album, or if I end up using Stacy Julian's, I don't end up using hers, but even if I was going to, either method, those lost layouts were definitely something that needed to go. Because they're just not they don't fit with the flow of the rest of these pages. These are all, pages about my family and the kids and our life at the time, right? So just adding some more roller dates here. And I actually talked about this one on the paper clipping roundtable when I was a panel, my very first time I was on the show. This one is called 12 teen, and all the way around I wrote down like the way that she used to count. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and she would go to 12 teen, 16, 18, 20, and that's how she would count. And so I just documented that. That's one of my favorite layouts. I love that one. I think I put the date on the other one as well, and what I'm noticing here is that these layouts are not exactly chronological. So there are pictures from Tanya's wedding and then some other pictures. And then like this is a Christmas picture, for example. And then we're going to go back to Tanya's wedding again. And a part of me was thinking, should I be arranging these in a better order right now? And then I thought, no, I don't think I need to, because I do have journaling on each page that says what they are. This is Sophie's birthday party. She had a Hannah Montana birthday party. So I'm just putting the date on there. Obviously, I know when her birthday was, but it's just nice to have, I want to have dates on almost all the pages. This is also from her party. And then this is New Year's party, which is, 12 days before her birthday party. So, and then I have little notes to fix different things. So I have to fix the O on this one. I'll just use some Tombow Mono Multi to do that. And these letters were, the black glitter ones were store-bought, but the ones that spell out tree were another letter. They were thickers that were turquoise, and I painted them that green color. At this point, I'm using a lot of Scarlet Lime kits. I had subscribed to the Scarlet Lime kit, and they were really big on bright, colorful, lots of primary colors. And so you'll see lots of bright reds and bright greens and high contrast. I mean, this was a month that wasn't like that. I think this was their February kit. Like, it was very Valentine's themed. And this, although I'm scrapbooking it around Valentine's by the look of it, it's actually, that photo is from Tanya's wedding. So I just wanted to put down Tanya's wedding so that it was clear what that was all about. I think I have some more fixing to do on this one. Yeah, the U fell down. And the F kind of got a little askew. Fanciful Fun, I painted those letters. Those are chipboard letter stickers that I painted a mottled pink and orange. I was just playing around with different, different mediums. That Fancy Nancy party was very fancy, and so my goal in scrapbooking it was every page that was about the Fancy Nancy party was going to be super embellished, over the top, bright embellishing. This little piece fell off, so I just had to glue it back on. And there we go. So what I've decided as I did this album was that I definitely don't want to do the Library of Memories strategy. That's the one thing that kind of struck me as I went through that album. My first goal was to just kind of go through and get a sense of what's in it and how it would be mixed up. And as I went through it, I just was like, I don't want to mix these up. Like, there's no way that I want to mix these up. I like how they are. I don't even want to fix them in terms of making them chronological. I just like them just the way they are. They're mostly chronological. And you'll see in this album, I'll come across a couple of pages that are much less chronological, like they're obviously out of order quite significantly. And so I'll show you what I do with those when I come to them. So this is another one that didn't have a date. So most of what you see me doing here is just adding dates, but it gives you a sense of how my style has changed and also the products that you have access to, right? So at this point, I still have lots of stuff in my stash from Die Cuts with a View and K & Company, so I'm still using lots of those. But these, for example, this page right here and the one beside it, these are two baby pictures of my daughters, obviously very much out of order, right? So I had gone back and scrapbooked baby pictures. And so I'm going to pull those out and put them someplace different. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with them, but I'm not going to leave them here because it looks like, oh, they had a baby. They had two babies. So yeah, it's just, I'm not too obsessive about making sure they're exactly chronological, but I don't want it to be too confusing either. I haven't taken them out yet, but I will go back and take them out.
So glad about that. Pumpkin guts, and I misspelled pumpkin, but that's okay. Sophie loved pulling the gooey guts out of her jack-o'-lantern. October 29th, 2009. We're good. Very good. Carving pumpkins. The cut pumpkins we picked from the pumpkin patch. Where we picked apples is the highlight of our autumn. Heart. And this is 2009 as well. I guess it's on the other side, so that's fine. In May and December we eat lots of lobster. We don't really eat lots of lobster, but we eat lobster. Lobster beer, wieners, and coleslaw. May of 2010. What is this? June of 2010. Olivia got a princess canopy net and an iTunes card for her 5th birthday. She had Daddy download the new Taylor Swift album, complete with music videos. Sunday morning, instead of coming into our room, I found Livy in her room under her canopy watching Taylor Swift videos. I guess she really is growing up. This would be June of 2010. So this is a photo of her iPod with the Hannah Montana skin on it and the video right there. That's a close-up photo of that. Haha. June of 2010. Look at all those flowers I used to use. And I put this on it because that's the same material that her little screen thing was made out of. Flower Girls pose with Mom and Dad before the wedding. This is Tanya's wedding again. Tanya and Jeff's wedding. 10/10/09. So some of these photos are scrapped out of order. May 15th, 2010. I think I'll put it right here, May 15th, 2010. Our friends helped us lay sod in the yard in return for pizza and beer. Because our house, when we built our house, it didn't have grass. Obviously, we moved in the winter. We got possession of the home on December 15th. And so we actually lived in it for a full year before we even had a yard. Fun at the Yost Vineyard. After shopping in the gift shop, we went out to see the grapevines on April 24th, 2010. So this would be April 24th, 2010 as well. I hated this page. This was not a page that I liked. I outlined all of these pattern papers with my white Signo gel pen. So this would be April 24th, 2010. There we go. Oh my goodness, these are all my girlfriends. April 2010. April 2010.
I painted that yellow on the background there, and then those dots are rub-ons. So this was one of my earlier mixed media pages.
April 2010. Ooh. I put glitter on that and ruined it. I think I put stickles on it. It looks really gross now. I love these mix and match crazy letters though. These I think were sassafras chipboard letter stickers. They were so much fun. Beads, beautiful beads. April 2010. Oh, those were the days. Those are rub-ons, and there's rub-ons there too. And then this is from August 1996, but scrapped. So these are the kinds of pages that I might want to take out of this album, because this is August of 1996 and this is summer of 1999. All the rest of these are mostly in chronological order. I mean, there's a little bit of back and forth, like the 2010s and the 2009s and stuff. Then there's their two baby pages. What am I going to do here? Okay. Taking the Joey train. Joey was the teacher that would walk them to school, and they called it a Joey train. That rub-on did not survive. It's all breaking up. So this is all about the first day of school. I think I'm going to take these out. Put them someplace else. I don't know where, because I don't think I'll have many of these, but they shouldn't go here, that's for sure.
So these two layouts are just too much out of order. They're just too obviously from long ago compared to the rest of these these pages. So I'm going to take them out so that they don't interrupt the flow quite so much. And then I'm also going to take out those 2 baby photos as well, because they're also obviously out of order. It is easier to take out 2 photos than 2 layouts than it is to take out 1, because then you really just have to shift over 1 more page, and then you've got your page protector that you can take out, and the whole rest of the album can stay put. So conveniently, these have been in pairs so far when I've had to remove a page. So here I'm actually thinking about, well, maybe I should, this is my first layout about Maya the cat. No, it's actually not. There's a couple of other layouts about the cats, and I'm thinking I could do like a pet related album. Then I thought, you know what? I really just like this. I like the album just the way it is. I'm a little bit torn here as I narrate this, because there is quite a bit more, even with it at 4 times the speed. I spent most of the afternoon just reviewing through these pages, reading the journaling, adding dates, and that sort of thing. So I keep on doing it, but at this point, I think I'm going to stop the video just because, whoa, we're at the 50-minute point already, and you really do get the kind of the way that this goes. I almost feel like I would like to review some albums with you guys. Maybe that could be another thing that I do on my Patreon, would be just kind of taking out an old album and walking through what I remember of it, how it's different and how it's the same. I'm actually going to change this one. I'm going to pull it out again, and I'm going to add some, see, there's just not enough contrast between those circles. I love this page, actually. I love that it's so different than anything I would do today. Just the colors are so much more brown than what I would do today. And I just wanted to, you know, just add that contrast of that bolder outline around the edges of it. I like that a lot. That's a nice page. Very festive. I grabbed a picture of it because I'm just taking a picture of the picture because my friend's son is in it. So I texted it to her and said, look at how little they used to be. He's on another page soon too. So anyhow, I am going to call this one a day. This is my first process video right here. Halifax to Moncton in 7 hours. This was where it all began, was with this page. So I'm thinking about maybe just doing some album walkthroughs with you guys, because as far as album maintenance, this is just how it goes. I've decided to not really do the library of memories approach to my albums. I am going to pull out anything that is kind of obviously out of place, and then I'll figure out what to do with it later. For now, I just have a little pile of them, and then I'll see how much of each category of things I have. I might just do kind of like a blast from the past album, where I'll just collect up all of my layouts that are, you know, from scrapbooking photos from before I actually used to before I started scrapbooking. That way I can you know, have them all in one place and maybe add to them or think about what else I might want to do with them. So that's where I'm going to end this one for today. Sorry that it ended up being quite a bit longer than I expected, but I hope that you found it at least a little bit helpful. Let me know if you want to see more of this kind of thing. I am happy to turn on the camera and just let it roll while I do stuff. If people find that interesting, I can do that as well. Take care and have a really great scrappy week.